So you've done some acting in your past as well, and you still currently act as well, right?
So there was a point back about 5, 6 years ago where I thought about trying to go into film acting as a career,
Hmm.
and I quit my job at my optical shop where I work, and I did I did background work. I did some independent film work, and I looked at my work on the screen, and I have a great look as long as I don't open my mouth, I think. I mean, I don't think I'm a horrible actor, but I don't think it's my best talent. And
Sure.
so I still do it as a hobby.
Hmm.
Have a lot of younger filmmaker friends who have graduated from NYU, the Tisch School, who every time they need somebody to play a funny dad or comedian or somebody's boss or doctor or something like that, they'll call me up and say, "Hey, Dave, come be in our show,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
film," and I'll hop in there and do it. There's no pay or anything. It's just for fun,
Right,
and
right.
yeah, and I've got some funny videos out there on YouTube somewhere, but it's
Yeah.
it's it's not something that, I mean, unless Spielberg came along and said, "Hey, Dave, I saw you in this, and I'd love you to be this," or all. I said, "Sure," but
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
I'm
That
not gonna
comes along.
jump out and audition for stuff, and try to really make it. I've got other fish to fry that I like much better. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It seems like it seems like when it comes to, well, you had that one video that I saw that was if your boss was Instagram, that was like
oh,
I
you
thought you
did
did
see
really well
that.
with
That's
that. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I did see that, and that was really good. I thought I like the premise, honestly. I feel like little tiny like really simple premises like that are just really interesting. I really like that people are doing those sort of things, that the media is available for that now.
Yeah.
And also, like, just but what you've really developed a passion for over the past, I want to say, year and a half, because it's really been a pandemic passion project for you, is photography, and you kind of delved into that. Could you talk more about how that happened?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I studied art in college, and my focus was in painting.
Hmm.
And I have done painting since I was 12 years old, and that's
Hmm.
many, many years ago. So, um, I, but I have found that I have been using photography as a guide for my paintings. And so
Right.
I would take photography, I would take a photograph and manipulate it to get it kind of to the point to where I wanted the painting to look like. And
Hmm.
then I won't use the word copy, but I would use it as a guide for my painting.
Hmm.
And meanwhile, I had this really kind of fun looking photograph over here that looked really like, so, well, I'm just going to throw this away now. But I started to realize after a while that I kind of liked the photographs more than I liked the paintings. I mean,
Right.
I have a talent for painting, but it wasn't like something that I feel like was an amazing talent. But I really liked doing the photography and manipulating the photography
Mhm.
using light and shadow like my paintings. So
Right.
and so along about I want to say August of 2020, I took a photo walk out to the streets of Broadway and started shooting the pictures of the deserted streets. There were just
Mhm.
like no cars, very few people.
Right.
And I started doing this little series that I called Deserted Broadway. And
I like
they
that
were
name.
not documentary. Thank you. Thank you. They were not documentary style because I did a lot of manipulation on them. I kind of added sort of a bleak sky to them. I kind of maybe photoshopped out one or two people that happened to be
Mhm.
there and made them even more bleak looking because I
Right.
wanted to be more uh, like one of my paintings again,
Right.
so
Right.
I use a lot of photo manipulation. And so I spent a couple of months and just taught myself Photoshop because I was using other
Mhm.
manipulation software that was destructive to the original image. And so I wanted to start working with layers and all that on Photoshop.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and I came out with, a particular style that seems to, in the last year, have kind of permeated all my photographs. It's kind of a dark Gothic style.
Yeah,
And
I was wondering if you were going to say Gothic because I thought of that term, but I wasn't quite sure if that was the right term for it.
well, I mean, I mean, I use a lot of vignette. I use a lot of shadow.
Right.
I love pictures that have like shadows with maybe a streak of sunlight coming through.
Yeah.
I just did a recent picture of the New Yorker building sign that has that kind of look, this streak of sunlight
Hmm.
coming through, but the rest of it's kind of in shadow and sort of a sunsetty sky in the back. And so I just learned. I do a lot of work in camera, but I also love manipulating the work afterwards,
Right.
like one of my paintings.
Yeah.
And so that's how that kind of developed. It started off with pictures of the 42nd, 45th streets and all that, and has turned into pictures of just my New York through David Wayne
Mhm.
Fox's eyes. And I took some of my photos that I had taken a couple years ago in Edinburgh, Scotland, and
Right.
started editing those too. And
That's a
those have turned
perfect
out,
look for them too.
yeah, thank you. I feel like those. I mean, there's one particular shot of the Edinburgh Castle on top of a
Mhm.
green hill that has been my most popular print. I get so many favorites on those in my shop, and that's probably the one I've sold the most prints of.
Right. Yeah, and what I like about a lot of the photography that you do and the editing of it, because I've had to teach myself a little bit of photo editing just from a business
Mhm.
standpoint because like a lot of times I'll have like people reach out to me and be like, oh, we'll help you make a logo for $40 or we'll help you do this for this amount of money. And I always the first thing I always ask myself is whenever someone reaches out to me for that is let me get back to you because I want to first see, is this something I can figure out myself? Like is
Mhm.
this something I can figure out like how to do myself? And if I can, then why spend the money?
Yeah.
But it's like, and photo editing really is kind of fun. It's a fun thing for me to do. I like doing it. And what I found that I enjoy about it is that I don't like the kind of edits where it's like I'm taking like and I don't really do this where it's like I'm taking like my stomach like if I've gained a little bit of weight I'm taking my stomach away. I don't like doing that. I like the
Yeah.
hyper
Yeah.
realism of it, like the
Exactly.
actual what you do. I feel like is a hyper realism of an emotional snapshot of what you're taking a picture.
Right.
Like
Right.
obviously it's not like what it actually looks like if you look at it. Like but
Hmm.
it's the essence of it in a lot of ways, or it's a certain lens of it. It's the lens of it if you're looking at it through a certain lens. Like if it's like there's certain things I like heavily distorted things, I think, and because of, or at least heavily edited things, because things that are lightly edited, it's like you're trying to fool me with that. Like stop trying to trick me, you know.
Right.
But like with stuff that like yours where it's heavily edited, it's like you're trying to create an emotion with that. It seems like would that be an
It's an
accurate
art
statement?
print. It's not just a snapshot. It's an art print or an art
Right.
photo. Yeah, and that's kind of the way I look at it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I've also seen that you've created some that are more now that like, there's been kind of some oscillation between, um, you know, when we're in lockdown and when we're not, and or when you're in lockdown and when you're not. There's some photos that are a bit lighter in tone than others.
Yeah, yeah. Some spring photos, some autumn photos, where I really punch up the color and emphasize that. But even those have like an essence of darkness around them.
Mhm.
There's some that I still really push the shadows in many of them, and none of my work you could call pastel type.
Right, right. Yeah,
There
yeah.
very few. I have done some portraiture also, where I also push the dark, but yeah, I don't think there's anything in my work that you would really call pastel or pretty per se.
Right, right.
Yeah. Uh, it's maybe richer. I try to reach like
Sure.
a richer, more earthy, robust kind of look in my work.
Right, right. It's I actually just learned this term the other day. That idea that there's a such aesthetic as dark academia, and I wouldn't necessarily describe
Hmm.
yours as that quite,
Okay.
but it's in the realm of that. Like it's like
Uh-huh.
it's kind of it's a similar aesthetic to that. And I didn't know that that existed, but I think this idea of playing with aesthetics is really interesting now because so much of
Hmm.
what we see now is aesthetics, in our society, like and even people now even create entire identities around aesthetics.
Right, right.